Every long stride he made down Factory Street, instantly cooling the sweat at his collar. Buildings along this block were once part of a huge fish cannery that had gone under years ago. For a while, the buildings thrived from the tourism the cruise ships brought to port, selling trinkets and novelties. But over the past 5 years, since Ford had lived here, he'd watched the businesses disappear one by one, leaving the block more empty than occupied. For lease signs filled several of the windows. Ford's skin reacted to the chill, feeling suddenly a size too small for his body. But the rush of fresh air into his lungs after a full day in the studio always brought an appreciation of what nature delivered on a daily basis. A Tennessee boy born and raised, he turned 30 here in Alaska, and living here was worth the expense of traveling back to spend time with family a few times a year. He'd reclaimed his soul here. In a way, he owed Alaska his sanity. If he'd stayed in Nashville practicing law, he'd have been a bitter, unhappy man. Helping big corporations beat the system and guilty people dodge justice was big-ticket stuff for the law practice his dad was so proud of, but it nipped at the edges of Ford's moral compass. Leaving it all behind had been easy, even if it had been at the expense of his relationship with his father. He'd left the shop early, but days were so short this time of year that it was already dark. He shoved his hands into his pockets as he headed for the Manic Moose Saloon. As he acclimated to the cool weather, he picked up his walk to a jog, ducking into the side door of the saloon behind a group of guys that worked the dock. Ford pulled the heavy wooden door closed behind him. Hand-carved by a local artisan, the same one who'd done the custom door on Ford's house, the scene of an old, weathered fisherman standing in hip waders fly fishing only got better with time. The wood had silvered from years of drastic weather changes. In the background, a bear eyed the shiny pink salmon swimming toward the fly dancing in the water. A puff of cold air followed Ford inside. "Hey, man. Heard you're flying out this week." Ford turned toward the comment. Chet stood talking to some folks at a corner table. Chet's father had owned this place back when it was still called the Slippery Rascal. Now Chet and his wife Missy ran the joint and lived upstairs. "You heard right. Abandoning us for good?" Chet made his way around the bar and pulled a draft of IPA for Ford and slid it to him. "You know better than that. Just going down to North Carolina to run some glass workshops for the Prism Glass Art Institute." "That's where you ran off to last summer, when your friend got married, right?" Ford took a sip of the cold beer. "I visited the glass shop while I was in town. If you don't come back, I want first dibs on your house." Chet poured a drink. "Not that I can afford it." "I'll be back before you realize I'm gone. Just 30 days. Chet eyed him. "Yeah, right." "What? Seen that look before. You're going down to find a girl." He was set to argue, but that would just be a lie. "What if I am? What's so wrong with that?" "Seen it too many times. Never lasts long. The only women that make it up here are the ones born and raised into it. This place ain't for those dainty types. If you find one you like down there, I suggest you stay there." "I'll be back." He chugged half the beer. "I'll do some work, spend some time with friends, and then I'll be back, one way or the other." "That long-legged blonde you talked about after the wedding lives down there too, don't she? That one of the friends you plan to spend time with?" He'd air-quoted the word friends. Why did air quotes always make him feel awkward? Ford narrowed his eyes and pointed a finger in Chet's direction. "You're supposed to forget that stuff at closing time." "Heck no. I'm going to write a book with all the shit you customers tell me one day. Going to be a bestseller, too. Probably buy the whole town with the money I'll make and never work another day in my life. Might be how I pay for that fancy house you built." Chet let out a laugh as raucous as a drunken pirate. "I hear you. You and I both know that Missy won't be having any of that. You'll have to work just to keep her in." "I heard my name," Missy said, swatting Ford on the butt with her bar towel. "Don't be talking about me." "Wouldn't dare." He reached over and gave her waist a squeeze. "How you been, girl?" "Great. Heard you're headed out of town." He just made final plans.